Welcome to Privacy Now, your go-to podcast for privacy, crypto, and AI. Each episode, we dive into the latest advancements, explore cutting-edge innovations, and bring you insights from experts shaping the future of Web3 and AI. From crypto degenerates to the ones in it for the tech, Privacy Now has got you covered.
So, welcome everyone to another episode of Privacy Now, the podcast where we explore the future of Web3, privacy, and decentralization. As always, I'm your host, Mihnea, and today we're diving into one of the most important, yet often misunderstood aspects of Web3, and that is community building. As you know, Web3 isn't just about tech. It's about the people who build, contribute, and grow the ecosystem. A strong community can make or break a project. But what makes a Web3 community thrive? How do you build trust, engagement, and long-term sustainability in a decentralized world? Well, to answer these questions, I'm joined by four incredible guests who have been at the forefront of community building in some of the biggest Web3 projects. Today, we have with us Ruben Amar, Head of Community at Field Network, Alex Stoicescu from Request Network, Kate, former community lead at Axelar, currently contributing to both developer and general-focused audiences through events and conferences, and Park CEO at Radiant. So together, we'll discuss the biggest challenges, successful growth strategies, real-world case studies maybe from Web3 communities. So if you're a builder, a crypto enthusiast, or just someone curious about what makes a decentralized community tick, well, this episode is for you. So let's get started. And before we dive into the topics, I would like to go around the room so everyone can properly introduce themselves. Maybe you guys can tell us a bit about your journey into Web3, maybe a bit about the project you're currently working with. So I don't know, who would like to start?
I'll go first.
Okay, you go first, Kate.
So I've been in blockchain for 8 years now.
Oh, that's a long time.
6 of those have been at a full-time capacity. And, my background is in cybersecurity, and it was kind of a natural progression from cybersecurity into blockchain because, as cybersecurity became more regulated and, more kind of red tape was added to things, I was looking for my next adventure. And at the time, blockchain was the Wild West. And very similar to very similar to cybersecurity in finding Web3 where, everything that you built, every line of code that you wrote was precedent setting, and for me, that was really exciting that you had the ability to create something that had never been, done before and build something that had never, come into existence before. So that's what really excited me about Web3. And then also, realizing that there was such an amazing opportunity to build community around it, right? Like there was other people looking to also build and expand and, be part of something that they felt really excited about. And so that's kind of how I got into, not only the engineering side, but also the community side of realizing that people were just as excited as I was, to build something that had never been built before and to build community around that. And like I said, it's been 8 years going strong and still just as excited.
This is what keeps us in this space, the excitement and the novelty and the passion.
Yeah.
But it can be tiring as well. And we did discuss this before starting the call. Okay, let's go. Who wants to go next? Not all at once.
I can go next. Yeah.
Alex.
Raise hand here, right here. I'm Alex. I'm leading communications and community for Request Network. Maybe you bought the coin 2017 during the ICO. I've met many people at events who are like, oh, Request, you're the first coin I bought. So we are an actual OG protocol that is focused on decentralized payments and invoicing. Freelancers love us. As for me, I've been online since dial-up days. Maybe some of you remember parents yelling at you to get off the line. So I've been online since a very young age, and I was always interested in technology, latest technology. So my first foray in tech was when I was 13, and I was writing documents as a technical writer, a volunteer technical writer for Undernet. It was a IRC decentralized. The Romanian guy knows it was hugely popular in Eastern Europe.
I know.
And that's how I got my start into tech. And I've always found myself at the intersection of the newest technologies and the interaction between people. So while being an online warlord, I was also doing parties IRL. That's my background is in festivals and events. So getting people together online is not particularly hard, but convincing them to, use their infrastructure or join your ecosystem, that's an entirely different thing, which I am excited to talk about.
Yeah, we'll cover that. But yeah, I totally relate to you, Alex, and I guess all Romanians can relate to that, especially Romanians that are as old as us. We've all started in the IRC era. Became passionate about technology. Okay, I'm gonna name Ruben.
Next one. Yeah.
Yes, Ruben here. I've been in crypto since 2020 on my own, and then I joined in full time in 2021. So initially I come from a data science background, so very different from building communities. But in the end, if you kind of look deeper, you kind of explore data and you try to find patterns and everything. And I think crypto and communities are pretty alike this, like you kind of analyze the trends of what your users like, what they want to do, and in the end, you build something for them that they can resonate with and want to be a part of. So that's kind of where I started. And the first thing I did, as everyone, was doing trading. So I started with doing trading bots with machine learning. And then, this market never closes, so it's pretty exhausting. So then I wanted to learn more about the tech. So I joined pretty much at the same time as you, Mihnea, Oasis Protocol as an ambassador. And from there, I learned a lot. I got so into it that it went from a hobby to like a passion, and then decided to join Oasis first DEX as a community lead. And then from there, one story after another, I ended up joining Fuel since 3 years ago. And built the community from scratch, met incredible people along the way. If you're familiar, like it's a tech stack that is entirely built from scratch. So, the challenges are even harder because you have to convince people that your stack is superior, or at least is worth, trying. And especially for language, it's not using Solidity, but it's using its own language. So you have to get the first devs into something completely new that they don't have any interest in the first place. So it's very challenging, but at the same time very exciting to see innovation being the driving piece of this whole ecosystem, in crypto. And everything moves so fast that you have to remain relevant this whole time. So that's pretty much where I am now.
I know you're a very humble guy, Ruben, but I think you're one of the greatest community builders in Web3 at the moment. You did a tremendous job. And I realized it's hard to get developers in when you're not using Solidity basically, or Rust, but Solidity. So I think you have a great ecosystem at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
Park, you're last but not least.
I am last. So yes, I'm Park. I am CEO of Radiant Commons. We are a GTM org that is working on Penumbra, the privacy layer network. And my background, I entered crypto in more or less 2020. So it's been I guess it's almost been 6 years. That's crazy. And yeah, right. Same feeling. And I entered the space through honestly from the research angle. I bought some Ethereum just because I was I don't know, whatever, I'll diversify my assets. I was leading a career in photo where I did a lot of research for different kinds of documentary work. And I was well, I need to leave this career. I need to park my money somewhere so that it's not. And I was I'll take a high risk appetite, and I put some money into Ethereum. I already had a little bit of a background in understanding network theory and systems theory. And then the value of my Ethereum started going up, and I was wait, why is this happening? So I started looking into it and actually understanding it. And I was oh my God, wait, Ethereum is just a complex network with a whole bunch of like simple inputs that are creating like a complex outcome. And it's the simple initial conditions that are creating like this like crazy thing that everyone's contributing to, and it's decentralized. And I was like, oh my God, I have to know more. So I ended up in like a bunch of telegrams. Actually, one of my interesting things, I feel like not a lot of people this is true for, but I actually came to crypto through TikTok. Like I saw like like there was this guy that was like posting about crypto stuff on TikTok, and then he had a Telegram channel. And I went to the Telegram channel, and in that Telegram channel, I went from being the person who was like asking questions to the person who was answering all of the questions in about like a month, just because I was like soaking up all of the information. Cool thing is that led me to
You got red
what was that?
pilled.
I got yeah, 100%. Like hardcore. And then I ended up in a Discord that was like for women in crypto, and this woman like saw me and was just like, hey, I think you really know a lot. Like, I would love for you to come work for this validator I work for. And I was like, I don't know what a validator is, but okay. And interviewed instantly, instantly got along with everyone who's at the company. I was employee 34 at Figments. They ballooned up to 240 employees within like a year. And I went from being, this is like a very startup thing, right? And you remember my days with Figment, Kate. Went from being, and you do, being an analyst to being like head of the research department. So like overseeing all the research that the company was doing. So I really did get very pilled on crypto super fast. We launched over 100 networks while I was working there, like as a validator. So I really got a strong sense for like everything happening across the space. Eventually, I wanted to get like actually sink my teeth into something, because like working at the validator, I was kind of just like touching the surface of all the different networks that we were working with, and I never felt like I could get like a deep enough interest in them. So I made the decision to leave, and I worked as a community lead at Namada, which is another privacy network, which just launched, and right now they're like about to go into their phase 5, which I'm very excited about for them. But like a little ways into working there, I got the opportunity I was like approached by the founder of Penumbra, and he was like, what if you came and worked on this network? You could like really shape what it would look like. So I joined Penumbra as an ecosystem. I started, or rather restarted Radiant Commons, which is a separate company from the development company. And we launched the network, and we kind of took everything that we've been doing. We've kind of been doing it the opposite of how most other people do it with networks, which is kind of like our intention around it so far has been to like actually find product market fit and then grow the product out into the user base, rather than growing the community and then not really having a usable product and then everyone being pissed off at you and you're token dumping. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. That's where I'm at right now. That's where we're at. And that's my background.
So since I have you on the privacy aspect,
yeah, let's do it.
We're doing privacy as well. What do you think is your product fit at the moment? Or
yeah. So I think one thing that comes up a lot in privacy discourse, right, is this idea of like, okay, so first of all, like I want to take a little bit of the historical view, right? It's a lot of people who say that like Satoshi Nakamoto would have built Zcash had the technology been available from the start, right? Like when Bitcoin was made, the way it was made, specifically because the technology to create like a private payment system, like you had to set the rails first. Zcash is an iteration on Bitcoin. And with this in mind, the concept of like a privacy network that is like that uses the circuits that Zcash does kind of was like an offshoot of where crypto ended up going, right? We had Bitcoin, and then we had like the development of the logic of Bitcoin was to come up with programmable money. And so you ended up with Ethereum, and then you've ended up with everything that's come after that. All these other networks, all these other new VMs, new paradigms that have existed around crypto, but they've all kind of like left privacy as like this thing. There was this offshoot into Zcash, and that kind of became its own track. And then you had like, alongside that Monero. And The problem with this is that historically, with all of privacy, or with all of crypto, it's all kind of continued down this track, and privacy is always something that people have continued to try to tack on to the solution. So Penumbra is kind of like taking all of the learnings of everything that's happened throughout crypto that left privacy out and rebuilding it so that privacy is a part of it. So like a good way of putting it is like it's kind of Zcash with all of the learnings of what people actually want from crypto. And what does this imply? What it implies is that Penumbra gives people privacy by default in a way that makes it like oriented towards the user as much as possible.
Mhm.
Privacy tends to have trade-offs whenever. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, and there's a cool little side comment about like why Penumbra is a good name, which is that since it's an IBC connected chain, there's something that's unique about Penumbra is that any inflow into Penumbra is the privacy boundary. There's no transparent accounts on Penumbra other than there was like one little period of time where there had to be in order to like constitute a fix for something, but that's been taken out of the system. And that IBC boundary, right, like the Penumbra of Penumbra itself is where privacy starts. And crucially, it starts with the user, right? So the trade-off that you see a lot of times with privacy networks is there's like a bad user experience. Penumbra's vision is to make privacy so useful and so usable that it becomes the thing that people start from when they go and use everything throughout crypto. You as the user get like all of your privacy to interact with any other network however you want to, and then you come back to it, and that way you're always like coming from an end-to-end encrypted private network with full autonomy over the information that you're putting out into the space.
But if no data is transparent, will this be legally compliant?
If no data is transparent, so there's selective disclosure, right? So with Penumbra itself,
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can offer the authorities that you want to your full viewing key if you need to, but at the network level, it's impossible to see which individuals are doing what on the network.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also, if we're thinking about it from the user layer, if we think about a multi-chain present, which is really where we're at right now, right? Like Fuel is still using Celestia for data availability, as far as I understand, and that's like an interoperable. It's not okay. This is new. This is news
No,
to
it's
me.
using Ethereum DA.
Oh,
But we're
okay,
looking into
cool.
expanding to more DA solutions because in the end, it's very expensive to use this DA, and no one really seems to care in the end of the day.
Yeah,
So-
kind of. This is the thing. Crypto likes to focus a lot on all the infrastructure, and it forgets that the user doesn't care. Yeah. So like that. Go ahead.
It's also worth noting there's no international standard for anything that we've just discussed. It's
there isn't indeed.
based, and so there's no international, standard in terms of privacy logs, disclosure from government to government. So just to put that out there.
No, it's true.
But hopefully there will be at some point, because we do need regulations that can be beneficial. So
I think so too. And if you're operating from a principle of like giving an individual user all the possible autonomy to connect with everything else, you're giving privacy to the individual. That doesn't mean you have to make the entire architecture around them private, right? You can still see everything that's happening between like networks and the flows of different assets and different interactions, which means that it's like you have a public architecture, but you're still giving privacy and autonomy to the individual. The activity is public, but who's performing the activity is not.
nice. I love your solution, and I hope you have great success with this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's move on to the actual community aspect of the episode. But I'm fascinated. Maybe we'll do another episode focused on this.
Yeah, let's do it. Always open.
Okay, so I wanted to start with the biggest challenges in Web3 in community building, because unlike Web2, where companies have centralized control, right? Communities in Web3 operate in a decentralized environment, which can bring both opportunities and challenges, right? So I would like to ask you all, what are the biggest hurdles you faced when building and maintaining communities?
Maybe
Ruben,
I can start
yes.
on this one. Yeah, I think crypto and the whole tech space in general is shifting towards a more fast-paced product environment because AI is disrupting everything. Like now you can build incredible products in no time, and people are expecting drastic changes as well in no time. Like, so your community always wants more. They don't know how to wait, and you gotta keep them entertained and captivated by what you're doing. And that's the consistent challenge. I'm sure most of you are not sleeping a lot knowing this. But yeah, like the biggest challenge I think is building in the open, facing the criticism, because obviously you're not going to satisfy everyone in your community by making some choices. Every choice means you're taking trade-offs as well. So I think the biggest challenge is to remain transparent, keep on building, and remaining relevant at the same time, because the market is shifting very fast, and AI is going to be our biggest ally, but as well our biggest opponent in the next few years, I think, until we're no longer relevant.
I think
that's a long way. That's a long way.
I guess my question is, when you say trade-off, like what do you mean by that?
Like for instance, just going back to the DA, so you may want to use Ethereum DA at first because you believe in the Ethereum ethos and you kind of believe in the values of that. But then it turns out it's not necessarily what makes your chain the fastest. So you may want to satisfy some people who believe in the security aspect, but at the same time you may unsatisfy some other people who want the speed and don't care really about the decentralization or the security. So you may have to face some decisions like that may completely change the focus of your community.
I think that's being in community for the time that I have, like that's the biggest trade-off, is how do you make people happy with the price of the token versus understanding.
Yeah, you don't. The token tunnel vision is very strong in communities. It's something that lots of us cannot escape. We've all been trying to escape the token tunnel vision, right? In my case, it's a 7-year-old token. Do you imagine how this is? Everywhere you go, like I told you, people, I bought your token 7 years ago, and that's all like the resume.
And I'm not rich,
Well, so how do you deal with that? How do you manage it? How do you handle it?
You rewrite the narrative. You rewire everything. You start from scratch. You talk about the token only in situations where it's worth talking. For example, I talk about a token once a month when I burn it, and people love it. They have a dedicated space where they talk about price action, but otherwise, the discussion that I want to have and I want to see and participate in is a technical discussion. It's a discussion about the ecosystem, about what fits, where did we go wrong with this, what did we do right, but not the token price. So the
thing is, like, if your token price goes up, then everybody is happy and no one will be asking questions, or no one will be putting your project on the side. But if your price starts going down, then there will be FUD and there will be allegations, and like suddenly you're fudding and you're scamming your community. So it's like you have to maintain a good balance where you're active enough and transparent enough about what you're building.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have to, allow those conversations to happen, because if you prevent them, then you have something to hide and something is going behind the scene. Even if it's not the case, people will make allegations, and then, it spreads. Like FUD spreads much faster than good things happening. So
good transparency will absolutely help you on this, and having all the wallets, having the foundation wallets, having the founders wallets, everything. As long as everything is transparent, this kind of discourse will die down very fast about scams and all kinds of negative things. FUD, yeah.
I think the word scam is for me, really interesting. So if you guys are okay with it, like, let's get into what scam means in crypto.
That's a great question.
That's a way too easily thrown term out there, to be honest.
That's for another podcast, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ruben was referring actually to rug pulls more than scams, because people tend to call your project.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, when people buy your token, they believe that, whatever you do, like if your tech is right, then your price can only go up. But that's not how the market works,
Exactly.
And they also believe that, market makers will pump your token. And it's not the case either,
Well, yeah. Market makers
I honestly don't think that
takers.
the token tunnel vision, I don't think that's the biggest hurdle. I honestly don't think that. I think that the biggest hurdle is actually onboarding and onboarding across personas, because everybody is different. Everybody has a different goal. So you can have on one side the devs, and then on one side you have the complete degens who don't care about tech, and everyone in between. And that's my biggest hurdle, how to effectively engage each of these personas.
I agree.
Yeah, go for it, Kate.
No, I was saying I agree. So I would like to, I'd like for you to elaborate on that, because I agree completely.
Yeah, so I think this all comes down to finding PMF. If you have PMF, then you know who your audience is. And then if you know who your audience is, then you can start, creating those personas and starting to leverage them to make the best out of the community. Like it's okay if you have KOLs, or if you have people who are more into the DeFi aspect without being too loud. Like you need everything in a community, and you need to find a good pathway for all of them, for all of them, if it makes sense for your product. And it's okay if it doesn't resonate with everyone in the crypto space, like you cannot satisfy everybody. You need to find your niche of people that will really care about what you do and make their experience the best way possible.
There's an interesting thing you're saying here, I think, that's worth commenting on. In particular, finding your niche of people, right? I think there's one fallacy or one error that a lot of people fall into in crypto is this idea that, it's like you want to onboard the next billion users or something. It's like, that's not how it works, right?
Yeah.
Like, what you really want to do, and it depends. It kind of does depend. Like if you're trying to create something that's like for everyone, then I understand like your addressable market is like everyone. And congratulations, you've just decided to do the hardest thing possible. But exactly to your point, Ruben, it's kind of like, it feels like maybe there's kind of like a hurdle within a hurdle that I think exists within crypto, which is the first is every crypto product finding product market fit within its group of users. But there's the super problem, right, that exists on top of that, which is crypto's product market fit. So it's interesting to try to find product market fit within an unestablished market that everyone's like, what is the killer app for crypto? And a lot of people within crypto think that we found it, right? That it exists. But like my contention, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about like what it is that I like initially got me interested in crypto, is like my honest opinion is I don't think people even know what crypto's for yet. The easiest possible thing you can do with a decentralized ledger is compute balance changes on accounts. That's the easiest thing. The easiest thing you can do is change values in the system. Everything that is built on top of that, everything that's made more complicated than that, like the sky is the limit on the possibilities. And exactly to what you were saying earlier, like AI is going to fundamentally change what this means in the future. And so when people are like, oh, like it's hard to find product market fit within crypto, it's like, yeah, because it's not an established user population yet. There's no established set of user needs between crypto users. Arguably, like the best product market fit is the one that makes us the least money, which is like peer-to-peer payment across borders. But no one's really like conquered that. And it's also a highly contentious issue. So like all of the other stuff that's being built on top of this, right? Like anything from infrastructure plays where people are getting like huge amounts of investment to build like architecture that backs up what it is that we believe crypto might need in the future, which is like things like DA layers or oracles and all of these like things that are like no users ever, no end user, no like pedestrian end user is going to understand those things, to being like, oh, I actually have to try to get people to use these things, right? Like Chipped, I think, is one of my favorite products in all of crypto, because Chipped actually has like a user-facing crypto product that people can interact with, that allows them to there's actually a product that people can interact with. And to me, it's like still so unfigured out. So the hurdle is like, how do you find a market within an unestablished market? And how do you tell the story around it in the first place?
I think unfortunately we're a bit stuck in the present, because the biggest community sentiment is still geared towards the easy money, the easy opportunities to be had. And there's an opportunity there as well, because if you think about it, if you looked at Trump's coin when it was launched, right? It got a lot of users to ask their relatives and ask their tech people, the tech people in their lives, how do I buy this? How do I get started? And a massive movement like this might get people interested in other things when it comes to crypto, and might get them interested in technology and in chains and whoever.
Only if they made money out of it.
Only if
they
made money. Yeah.
Otherwise, they may never come back.
Yeah, it can be quite negative as well.
It's critical.
Very important. It's very important. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's like, I actually think the Trump coin. I think the Trump coin, honestly, I think it honestly exiled or excluded a huge amount of the market because of the price dynamics around what happened after its launch, right? It was like, he made a ton of money. They did a huge sell-off. It was like one of the biggest rug pulls that we've seen. And it's continuing to move down that narrative. And that to me is like extremely damaging.
Yes, as I said, like, you're both right. But it can be a positive thing as well. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best time to because you have all these meme rug pulls, and that's not a pretty sight to have.
No, we want to stop winning,
Sorry?
We want to stop winning at some point. we want so much.
I know. Let's stop winning. I'm tired of winning by now. Kate dropped from the call, right? She did mention she did mention she had another call. So it's just the four of us now. Okay, so we kind of covered the market downturns, but maybe we can go a bit deeper into this, because crypto contains a lot of emotional cycles, right? So how do we keep people grounded, engaged with our long-term mission, even if the market is
other than transparency?
Other than transparency, yeah.
Or radical transparency?
I would go for educational. Educate the communities. That's one of the
culture building. I would say culture building is a good start. Other than radical transparency.
Yes.
Build culture, just like you build in any Web2 company. Do things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't really know what it. I think a lot of people don't really know what it means, what culture means, right? Like, and that's one of the issues I think I see a lot of people push in, is like, oh, does culture just mean memes? Kind of, but like, what are those memes about, right?
So there's two situations here, in my opinion. When you join a company and there's a fish company, there's no culture, and you establish that culture based on your audience and your coworkers, of course, because obviously if you're all on the same spectrum, you're all gonna get along, and there's definitely got to be some traces of culture that you can build on. On the other hand, you also have companies where you join and there's already a culture that's been established, and then you have to identify exactly why this culture exists and what can you build off of it. Can you use it? Is it working? Like I inherited just token holders, people talking about the price up, price go down, that's it. And how can I build an ecosystem if everybody's on talking about the price? So let's again switch the focus, switch the narrative. Let's talk about other things.
Culture is about
every damn day, just push and drill into them that we are not talking about that, we are talking about this. And at some point, things just click.
Yes, but a lot of them might leave.
Bingo. Maybe
Yeah,
some
so-
AI tools
Yeah.
to use together.
Yeah, but Mihnea, I think the thing about a lot of them who might leave, that's good in some ways. I don't mean like in a like broad negative way, but it's like it's what Ruben said earlier. You're trying to establish like the community of people that you want to be a part of your community. So you establish the culture that ensures that like you have identified the people who you actually want to be a part of that population. So I think that's where it makes sense. Even if people leave, like
That's fine.
okay, you ain't about it,
Yeah.
I guess, right? Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
exactly.
Like I'm all for quality over quantity, and having
Yeah.
even if it's a smaller group, a group that's dedicated to your cause and understands
Like-
what you're trying to build. But it might get
What can you
really
guys
small
offer?
at them.
What can you guys offer to a pump fun community?
The what?
Pump fun community. What can we offer them? What can Fuel? What can Request? What can Oasis offer to somebody who's deep into pump fun? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So
We all
you
have
build
our-
the tools
But
to
that's
enable them.
that's another narrative. So altogether, it's not what any of us are trying to achieve.
Exactly.
I mean, I do
Making,
think you kind of have to deal with those people anyway, because they're going to be here and they're going to drive traffic and they're still going to be able to leverage your technology. So if you're into, like culture comes from the community, the culture means like building relationships with the people. So how do you do this? So it all comes down to, again, your product market fit. If you have a good product, then people will talk about it. You will drive mindshare. And then in this mindshare, some people might find, some common pain points or some common victories, and they will talk about it, and they will start, mingling, and and then that's where the meme comes up. Like they're created from the emotion. If you manage to create emotion from your product, from the mindshare, then you're going to create bonding in your community. And people will cry together, they will laugh together. And maybe that's about the frustration of your token, or maybe it's about, the amazingness of your product, because, transactions are so fast and the fees are so cheap, and then that's where it all comes up, And if your community is a bunch of people who like meme coins, then so be it, look at Solana. It's been an insane casino, and everybody wanted to be like them, So yeah, I think it all comes down to finding your right product and your right niche of people that you want to please.
I also think memes are very important as a way of, like, if you have memes in your community, it means that, and if you have memes that only people in your community understand, that's actually a very positive indicator, because what it means is you have a community that is well educated enough on the technology that you have to be able to synthesize like all of its concepts down to something that is like commonly funny or commonly interesting to everyone that's a part of that community. And this kind of, to me, is an indicator of like the culture that's being built. Like, kind of to your point, Alex, it's like, it's like to be able to build the culture, memes are a good indicator of whether or not you have properly offered the resources to people to understand what it is that they are a part of.
I agree.
When people start creating memes, you definitely have proof of culture, and this is not just in Web3. This is everywhere now. This is the new reality. So maybe 10 years ago, maybe not everybody was creating memes or thinking that they could do it or that they're funny. But nowadays, everybody does it. And the moment that you see in your community people start to do it, you'll be like, "God damn, I did it."
It's like you have to create the environment to make it happen, but you cannot force it. If you force it, then it's not going to be right.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Space. It's just like IRL, create safe spaces for people, and they will express themselves as they are there.
Remember when we were ambassadors, Ruben, all the Telegram sticker packs, and those were fun. It was that period.
It was fun, but it was a part of
You guys
something.
did sticker packs.
Sorry?
You guys did sticker packs.
Yes.
We did everything.
That sounds like 2021,
We did everything.
2030. That's not.
People still use them though, people still like sticker packs. You know what I really like is Signal sticker packs. Like, whenever someone does the work to make a Signal sticker pack, I'm just like, all right, you guys get it. You went deeper.
I have never.
Oh, they're
tried
great. There's some really good ones out there. There's some very silly ones. Yeah.
I really
Signal
use
is like
Signal nowadays.
another piece of cake. You have to really go even deeper than Telegram to end up on Signal.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, man. It is actually kind of funny to hear you say that, Mihnea. Like that you don't use Signal that much. You're in the privacy now.
I know. But I use it with a
It's
couple of
fine.
friends, and that's it. Cool.
Yeah, I'm
Because
like
Well, me,
slowly
that-
trying to
that's
convert
one of
people.
the things because I was listening to a lot of talks when it comes to privacy, and that's one of the things. Like, you can't even get the people who are working for privacy projects to use actual privacy in their day-to-day lives because, and it's not that they don't want to use them. It's because you're surrounded by people who don't use those products, and it's
Yeah.
super hard to onboard those people onto.
I totally agree. There. Yeah.
But guys, I wanted to know one thing. What marketing strategies worked for you over the last couple of years? Something notable that made a shift in the community. If you have anything to share.
Mm,
Maybe developer
think
marketing.
like,
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
go for it.
Yeah, maybe Ruben was going to say the same thing in Puck as well, but maybe developer focused marketing that worked well. This is also a question, Mihnea, that you know, what kind of marketing are you talking about?
Any kind of
Yeah,
marketing.
exactly.
just
I
wanted,
mean, it's
yeah,
like
like a
what does
marketing
marketing
strategy,
constitute in the space?
Mhm.
like a
Well,
campaign.
I would say developer marketing worked, addressing
yeah.
developer experience, making a very nice journey for developers. And my goal is to create an ecosystem. My goal is not to get the token price up. I'm sorry if anybody's hearing this. I'm really sorry, guys. But my job is to grow an ecosystem of products, of companies, of builders, of founders. So yeah, make their journey well, suitable to their needs, and that's the best marketing that you can do it. Yeah, maybe
I would
marketing
say
will have other ideas.
I would say for us, it was, I think in 2022 when we launched SwaySwap. So SwaySwap was like a DEX that we launched on our first testnet. And it was pretty much like the fastest DEX you would have ever experienced back then. It was using a burner wallet, so you wouldn't have to download anything. You just generate the wallet, you make a swap, and it's instant. And then from there, people want to know how that works, and then the developers want to chime in, and that's where they want to use your tech. It's when they see the capabilities it can bring, so you go backwards, it's like you show the product, then people want to dive more. So you kind of start to explain how this works and you educate people, and then you start to grow interest on it. So I think that was probably the best marketing campaign we've ever had.
Get people to be curious. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And it was
Get people to
simple.
be curious. Yeah. And well, I think I saw a tweet yesterday that was like going around that like testnets are becoming really good marketing campaigns in general. And it's interesting because like I think this is true. And I think it's probably like the best route to take toward getting people to actually use your product and also give yourself the space to figure out where the issues are so that it doesn't like negatively affect your token price. Because unfortunately, that is a component of everything, right? Like as much as we don't want it to be, like you don't want your network to launch and then everyone be like, what is this? This is what we were excited about. This is what in the world is this? And I think there's lots of those cases, right? Where it's like someone launches and they're like, this is what we were excited about. My goodness, like what a mistake. And so I think a lot of the discourse around marketing in the last year or so has definitely been evolving for crypto in a very positive sense. It's like I asked a second ago, like what do we mean by marketing in the first place? Like what's successful marketing? And how do you make it so that it's like it creates stickiness? I think a lot of the previous paradigm for crypto has been just to be like, oh, like we aspire to all of these things, and then you launch the network, or like you've gotten this like huge hype channel, and then it just like it dumps off. And I think the sentiment is shifting around. I mean, Ruben, you really seem to be on the same page, the same wavelength with me about a lot of these things. That like I think the sentiment is changing around wanting to be like, do you have a thing that actually makes sense for people to want to use? And I think testnets to me feel like very good marketing. I think But I think you also can see a lot of. I think airdrops are interesting as a marketing campaign. I don't love them. I think that they've mostly resulted in downforce. However, they are a good way to find an initial user population at times, because you get tokens in people's hands for them to like care about the token, and then as a result, think about the product and figure out whether or not they want to have a relationship with a bag holding relationship with the token rather than a selective relationship with the token. You get them bought in. So there's kind of a balance here where I think airdrops can be good marketing, provided you have a strategy around it. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily have a strategy to pipeline people from airdrop to use of product.
But the problem is that airdrops have become very mercenary,
Yes,
people are running
absolutely.
entities to qualify for airdrops, and I think this falses the results of many things. Like you think your marketing campaigns have been successful, but they were just botted in the end of the day. Like it's just really hard to find out the false positives.
Yeah,
100%. And you can only do it once, really,
difficult.
sometimes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Incentive systems do spark initial growth, but do they build loyalty in the end? Do they build
Do they build a community?
Do they build a community?
not really. And I'm not a big fan of airdrops in general, because you never really can tell if something will be sticky or not, because people will say amen to everything you say just to get some tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as they get them, then they're out. So
Do you think they're more useful if the actual tokens cater to the governance of the network, or does that make a difference either?
Governance.
that's another big one. Yeah.
Okay, let's not get into governance. We'll stay here for too long.
No, I mean we can speak on it very briefly, just because I think governance is also another thing that has had to evolve. I'm a huge advocate for governance minimization. I co-authored some work with MetaGov a while back. That this is kind of we looked at the negative effects of governance on communities and didn't necessarily go into what it does for token but it just creates a really strange sentiment around communities, the voice of a community with respect to whether or not something's headed in the right direction. And that's why I think governance minimization has to be you build consensus and then you do governance. You don't do governance to build consensus, because that just becomes very messy.
I agree. You have a very good point. But honestly, if we look at the ethos of Web3, right? The whole prospect of Web3, decentralization, we should have governance in everything, right? It was built for the users. Users would need to have a say in everything, which is not truly functional if you think about it. But it's tricky. Everything is tricky in Web3. Let's just agree on that. So we decided.
I do think reputation models are important in Web3. So like pre-token launch, pre-airdrop, it makes sense to start something like that and then funnel the most motivated mercenaries, and inside this big chunk of people, of mercenaries, there might be some real users in there, and they will be your voice and they will be your advocate in the most critical situations. So
I completely agree.
So yeah, even if airdrops are mercenary, there are some real people out there that are interested in what you're doing and that believe in the fundamentals of it. So while I'm not a big fan of airdrops, it's still interesting to see these things shaping up organically.
It's a little bit of a spray and pray approach, right? It's you kind of spray out a bunch of tokens, and then you hope that it creates loyalty for even a smaller population. And then that's great, because you might make 150 people, or I mean, obviously more than that, but maybe 150 people will initially convert, and then maybe 50 of them actually become core members. And 50 people, I think we don't really talk about the idea of it. Like the community numbers are kind of like fuzzy in crypto a lot of the time. They'll be like, oh, my community is 22,000. It's 200,000 members, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like maybe you have 100, right?
It's funny.
Maybe you.
I was in
Yeah.
a panel in Thailand, and I don't remember who it was exactly, but like some guy was saying, yeah, we have 5 million daily active users, and I was like, yeah, okay. 5 million daily active users. I mean, I don't even think that the entire crypto people is 5 million people.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny.
What do we think about ambassador programs?
What, sorry?
What do we think about ambassador programs? I know, Ruben, you stopped the Fuel ambassador program at some point, right?
So mixed feelings. I do think they're.
Please watch your words. Don't get me depressed now.
I know. I was being tricky. I know you started.
I literally started back last week. Yeah, it sucks.
I think they're interesting. I mean, it's what got me in crypto, so I can only be, grateful about it. That's what got me to learn about so many things, and went from hobby to passion in 2021. So I think they're interesting. You can build real culture with ambassadors program if it's being taken care of very carefully. I do think the Fuel ambassador program was very interesting because we got 10,000 applications in 1 week, and I reviewed all of them manually. There were a lot of bots in all of this. But I did find 10 people out of this. Like my first batch was 10 people. And those people were really interesting. They were not just here for money or for the incentives of the ambassador program. They didn't even want to be paid. They just wanted to learn and to build around Fuel. And some of them became grantees later on. So I'm pretty proud of what this program created. It's just that when you create an ambassador program, you want to do it at the very right time. And for us, it was not a good time because we were thinking that we would launch mainnet very soon after that, but we kind of miscalculated that. And, maintaining hype with ambassadors for 3 years is really hard.
I know.
So we ended up closing it, but we kept in touch with all of those ambassadors, and most of them either became grantees or moderators. So it was beneficial in the end.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of ambassador programs. I still keep the ambassador program running at Oasis, and you can find really good people. And you have the advantage because, of course, the ideal scenario is to have community members who want to do this, right? Who want to get educated on their own. But if you run an ambassador program, you can structure everything. So you can have training sessions with them. You can steer them in the right direction. You can have one-on-ones with them, calls, get to know what they really want to do. And so, in my opinion, they're really beneficial.
See, a lot of people don't take that approach. I think that's what you just pointed out is the thing that people don't do with ambassador programs. They don't treat ambassadors. When people just throw out the word ambassador, it's kind of like, oh, whatever, I get a little badge and I'm like, oh, I'm a part of the, I don't know, extra network, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's not what you want. I think what both of you have answered is really important. It's almost like having, I've kind of always looked at it as it's a volunteer structure. If you were going to go work at your local food bank, if you're going to go work at a food co-op or anything like that, those people who are there, I mean, maybe you pay them, but you might not get paid. You might not get any benefits. How do you keep them motivated to feel like they are a part of something? And how you do that is you help them grow as people. You help them, you facilitate a sense of mutual growth and mutual benefit. And then it becomes intrinsic rather than extrinsic.
I agree. Yeah. That's really,
to be honest, you do have to reward them.
Sorry, Alex.
You got to reward them. When people put in time for you, and you make money off of them, then you have to reward them somehow. I I totally get the helping up on the 17,
So
the volunteering.
you do reward them in different ways. Like for me, like when I was an ambassador, I was learning a lot, and all of this knowledge that I gained helped me find a career out of it.
No money?
And it's the same for Mihnea. It was not
a small amount of money, but that really wasn't important.
Small amount. We're not talking large amounts or salaries. I'm not talking about salaries. I'm talking about small amounts, more as a token of gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, at the same time, things like roles also count as currency, right? Some people, even in a Discord, like they're like, if you go and you're like, I don't know, like I tried this out in the Namada Discord a couple years ago. It's like if it was very apparent that someone knew a lot about the thing, like, oh, well, you know a lot about this. Like, do you want to be a mod? And they're like, oh, I'm a mod now. That's pretty cool, And like, you don't necessarily need to pay them. Yeah, it's like what are the currencies? This goes back to your earlier point, Alex, about like culture. It's like, how is the culture rewarding people? It's not just, I mean, the assets are great, I think. But I think the culture is also its own form of currency.
Yes, but when it comes to roles, again, you need to have a culture and you need to have people that are dedicated to the project.
100%.
So you need to give
for the
value
roles
to the
matter.
roles.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
you need to give value to the roles to the point that people would kill for it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Don't kill anyone.
Whoa.
Do you have a story about
Damn, guys.
killing? Nobody's killing anyone here.
No, you get my point.
I'm curious about that story. Maybe we can talk at some event sometime, Ruben.
Yeah, we talked about privacy, okay?
Exactly. What are we? 1 hour in the show. Okay, maybe we can steer towards the end. What's one Web3 community that you really admire on how it's structured or how it evolved over the years? Or maybe one thing that you have learned from another community.
I can go first. Gnosis. And this is not just talking up because I live in Berlin and they're from Berlin and I have friends there and work with them and stuff like that. But it's not because we're deeply intertwined. It's because they've been doing a very good job at, there's one thing to believe in values and a mission and what you talk about, but there's another thing to actually consistently build it and show that you not just believe in these values, but you apply them every day to what you build to your product. Gnosis DAO has been doing that for years now. They have been talking about changing the finance game, and they actually kind of own everything that a bank can do in Web3. So they're relatively a revolut of Web3, in my opinion, and what they're doing. And they're talking about being inclusive, and I love that. And they have, maybe some of you are familiar with Circles. It's basically a Gnosis, I think it started as a community initiative to create universal basic income in crypto. So they're not just talking the talk, they're actually building products that people use and products that are based on their initial values. And I absolutely love that about them. And their community is completely aligned with those values as well. I was at a meetup last week in Berlin, and we had presentations about politics in crypto, about inclusivity in crypto, about all kinds of things that you don't necessarily see at normal conferences or meetups. So for me, it's absolutely 100% the Gnosis community.
Nice.
Yeah, the Gnosis community is really great. I would say, and probably if I don't say it, someone will, the Hyperliquid community, I think, is great. It was structured in a way that it was not targeting the next billion users. It was just targeting traders. So they found their niche community and they went all in for it. So like you think about the structure they created, even their points program and everything, even if we can agree that points program are mostly bullshit, and we did one and it didn't work out well as well. I think they did it in a way that made sense, and the whole community rallies around them even in the worst moments. And that's when you see that a community is right. Like even when there is an exploit or something, their community is
just had a bad moment, yeah.
yeah, of course. Like, and this can happen to anyone, And it's not just about the values you try to promote; it's the values that people carry with them for you.
I agree with you, Ruben. Hyperliquid is one of those communities who, if you go on their channels, it's not just why is the token dumping and why is not just bad sentiment. I agree.
There was a period of time where and I feel like it's still there, but I really appreciated the way that the Gitcoin community was constructed. There was a lot of thought put into the community architecture, how people were like brought into roles, how they would like honestly the compensation structures. Like I remember the first time I got paid by Gitcoin, I was just like, what? Like, and they're like, well, yeah, you showed up and you did the work. And I was like,
Different time.
I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like it was a different time. And I know it was a different mentality. I in some ways, like I miss those days, you know. And hopefully we see them come back because it was like a great approach to the space. It's less zero sum, which I see a lot more zero sum logic these days. And also, like, I mean, crucially, what I think is fascinating about Gitcoin is like Gitcoin has a token, but like it's not really like it's not a network, right? It is actually like primarily a community that serves a function, and it's kind of like people from a lot of different places, but they're brought in. The Schelling point is, I mean, itself Gitcoin and the ethos of the community itself. And there's technology that is built around and utilizes that ethos in practice. And so I have always drawn a lot of inspiration from the Gitcoin community because I thought it was like very thoughtful. These days I'm kind of out of touch with this. I don't know how things are going, and I hope they're going well. But like that's for me, that's a big part of it. And then I think the second one is like I really appreciate the way that the Plume community engages with itself right now. It's kind of like growing, but like I've definitely seen some very interesting like it's a different approach. It's a little bit more like gamey and interesting and fun. And it's a different approach to a different user population, kind of to your point, Ruben, right? So I've been like kind of paying attention there because maybe that's like a little bit more like user oriented, right? It's like if you really like Hot Wheels, like how do you find a Hot Wheels user? So like, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think one thing to add is like there is a lot to learn from mobile games community and the way it's structured.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't want to spill all the beans, but there will be something really cool about Fuel that I'm working on that is leveraging these kind of systems.
That'd be interesting, Ruben. Now you got me curious. Okay, and the other side of the coin, because we've all seen empires rise and fall, right? What would be one Web3 community that one mistake that you've seen a community make, and maybe what are the warning signs that other projects should watch out for before it's too late?
I mean, there's the obvious one, right? Like I think it's interesting because it's like I think the community sentiment is maybe paired with the mechanical, technical sentiment around what happened. But the Terra Luna collapse was like had a pretty interesting effect on the community.
I was sure that would be the first one.
So many.
So, say what?
There's so many of them, and most of them don't exist anymore today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that there was like a cult of personality around it, and I think that to me is a bad warning sign. I've seen there's a bunch of other communities that are around right now, and when there's a cult of personality, like one or two people are like the center of focus in the community. Yeah. That is you are writing yourself a recipe for disaster. Like that person's going to burn out, or maybe they're not a good person, or like anything like that, and it's like the whole thing can fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty bad one. I'm also just like what's that?
Vitalik.
That's different though, because he like really. I think he you know, but you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, the Vitalik is an interesting example.
But the opinion will
he
follow
really
the
tries to uncenter himself. Unfortunately,
I think Vitalik can do no wrong. To be honest, Vitalik is too long.
He's too innocent.
I think Vitalik is an amazing person, even so he's a bit weird. Yeah.
No, but I think he can do no wrong. Basically, like people love him for his quirkiness, and
Mm-hmm.
They respect him. They respect his genius. So
I got one mistake that kills communities, and I've seen it happen. I mean, it kills communities. It doesn't kill the product or the company itself, but there's no side of a community or any kind of culture around it. It's treating your community like just an audience and just broadcasting things to them without creating anything, without co-creating with them, involving them, making space for their input, making them feel like they matter. They literally matter, and it's not just about your voice matters. Vote on this. It's just make space for input in your day-to-day activities, and you're not gonna end up with an audience. You're gonna end up with relationships, like you were saying earlier, part.
I think I'm gonna put a finer point on what you just said, because I think I actually a little bit disagree. I think the word that I would use here is a fan base, not an audience. I think an audience is actually kind of a good thing. It depends on like how you utilize it, and more from like an individual basis. But a fan base is a threat, right? If you're just like broadcasting out to all of these people and you're just trying to get them like pumped about the thing, then yeah, as soon as they're like wronged, they're gonna like all FUD the hell out of it. But like an audience is actually like a very good thing. And I think an audience, like any good speaker, any good writer, any good podcaster has a relationship with their audience, right? Like that's what you should be doing.
You're entirely correct. You're entirely correct. Yeah, it's more about fan base as it's a explanation is very very on point, but I think that fan base. When I say fan base, I think about K-pop, or BTS, or you know what I mean. Like, that's where it's usually coming from. That's why I use the audience, because we use it a lot in our jobs. And audiences, it's people that are sitting somewhere listening to you, but completely not understanding or not being engaged and scrolling on their phones. For me, that's an audience.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So your community has to be a part of what you're doing, not just a spectator.
Yes. Yes. Don't be a speakerphone.
I think we can all agree on this one. Ruben, you didn't mention a project.
So I wouldn't say a project, but maybe like something a lot of people do, like us included, is probably considering your tech is for everyone. And when I mean everyone, like I'm talking about the devs, like when you're looking for devs, you're not looking for any devs, especially in our case, like when you build a new technology, you want some devs that are veterans, and that can build something that they care about, not just building something for the sake of it. And I do think ecosystems have become very mercenary, and they're all looking for grants, and then as soon as they finish their milestones, then the product is gone with them. Like there's no users, there's no engagement, there's nothing. And I think our ecosystem is suffering from that because, all delegations as well. It's like people tend to be very comfortable, and then as soon as the money is gone, like as soon as they got all the money they were supposed to get, then they will either ask you for more because they created something, or they will just go and find the next big opportunity in another ecosystem, and repeat the same scheme. So every time you look at big ecosystem page, most of those apps are pretty much dead. So it's not that the apps are not worth it. It's not that there's no users. It's just that the way they were built and the way their community were built was mercenary. There's nothing real about that. So focus, like and like it's true for everything in crypto. It's quality over quantity. You don't need 20 apps live on your ecosystem to be a successful chain. You just need 1 or 2 or 3 fundamentals app that people can really use and can be onboarded very smoothly to be a successful ecosystem. I mean, if you look at Solana, or if you look at Hyperliquid, or all of those successful projects that have been successful at some point, this factor came in. They had at least one very strong application. The rest was here, and it lived because this one application was successful, and people wanted to do more, so they explored the rest. But if you don't have one very strong application built with passion, then people who will build on your ecosystem will not stay long.
I agree. And if you look at for example, if you go and look at the TVL of bigger chains, the liquidity is not split amongst 50 dexes.
Yes.
One dex that has the biggest liquidity, and the rest are
Right. And it's usually a perps dex.
Yeah. Usually, yeah. The PMF is a perfect
yeah.
Just the truth is that
most of the time.
like hard to swallow pills in what you said, because basically if you want to grow an ecosystem, you need a killer product. You need something to pull all the others. And this
Because
is
maybe
the
the
hard truth for
of
me.
crypto in the end is dexes.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Product
say.
is very important. And as you guys said, testnet or just build some use case dApps yourself, and so people and developers can see what they can build with your product. We have a playground as well on Oasis. We have a lot of use case dApps built, which
I
are
really want
really
to
cool.
see a future. I want to see a future where people can. I might be shooting us in the foot with this comment, and possibly, but like I do think MCP tech through AI is going to like positively enable chains in a major way and change the UX pattern for interacting with users in a major way. And we haven't really quite finished thinking about that, I think, as a community, and hopefully we don't stop thinking about it. But the implications there are like, I mean, I would like to see a world where we like have test nets where people are kind of, and I think test nets are the right place to do it because you don't want it to be on the main net. But to like vibe code apps, like have like open the developer base, and then it's like maybe someone vibe codes something that's like that backend code is like super fucking dangerous. And so like people have to go and like fix it, but they're like, actually, this is something we really want. Like, so I think that a positive trend would be to see people on testnet integrate MCP and add like tools that people can vibe code with to create, like to iterate on products, and then potentially create relationships between actual developers who can make sure that that product is not bad. Like, you know, like vibe coding can only go so far.
So lovable for Web3
Yeah.
on testnet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
dope.
I love this
It'd be
concept.
really cool.
I'm not a developer, but I'll take your guys' word.
You don't need to be. That's the good part.
That's
The beauty of it, yeah.
You vibe code a cool prototype, and then you have some developers coming after your prototype is exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Did we just fix crypto? I'm just kidding.
Only on privacy now.
Oh, yeah, only on
Only on-
private now. Stay tuned for more
Yeah,
episodes.
privacy now.
We're going to be fixing other things as well. Guys, it's been a pleasure having you. We're nearing towards the end, and I have a lightning round if you guys want to do it. Let's try to make it as quick as possible. So what's the first one would be, what's one Web3 myth about the communities that you want to debunk?
What about the job itself? You know, community manager just talks to people. Do you want to say that, or
Sure.
the myth of doing a single job, which is you talk to people. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that's a good one.
I would say that no. The serious answer is that communities. The people think communities, you know, they just happen. You do something, and people come and they believe in your product and they believe in you, and let's all be happy together. And no, it's a lot of work. They're built, they're nurtured. It's like growing a plant. It's like growing a plant. It's a lot of work into it. They don't just happen.
I think my myth is that intrinsically motivated people will stick around. I think this is kind of to your point, Alex. Like, I think there has to be some sort of long tail. You can find people who are like very passionate about it, but I think there eventually does have to be some sort of upside, but it doesn't necessarily need to be financial. You know, like I think to Ruben's point, like you can eventually learning is a form of currency, or like culture is a form of currency. But like, yeah, I think one myth is kind of just like, oh, you're going to find your missionaries and then you're good. Yeah. So I think that's not true.
Missionaries,
Yeah. Mercenaries versus missionaries.
Yep. It used to be called evangelists, right? In Web2 back in the day.
Yeah.
Learn from the Roman Empire. Yeah, I would say, I don't know. Yeah, I think you said the most important thing. The big myth is that crypto communities just happen. You know, it's not the case. It's being built, and it takes
It's
time.
not all vibes.
Yeah,
I agree. It's like saying all of these thousands of projects that are being launched just have a community to begin with.
yeah.
Oh, I have a good one.
99% of those. Yeah,
I have a good one. My myth is that your community member is only in your community. I think that's
yeah,
like,
that's a good
like
one.
like people are like,
That's a good
oh,
one.
like yeah, community member, they're committed to ours. Like, dude, they're probably in like 50 other discords. Like you,
Yeah,
Of course.
when you join that other Discord and you see your community MVP there, do you go like, "Are you cheating on me?"
Yeah.
yeah,
The moment when you look at mutual servers.
yeah,
Oh man, don't be in other servers, or you'll be disappointed.
yeah.
Guys, this is like really basic and simple and it's fun. One piece of jargon every newcomer to Web3 should learn.
Mm.
What's your most used one?
Most used.
Most used.
Or the one that they should learn whenever
FML?
somebody gets into crypto, they should learn.
GR. Easy.
Yeah. Nobody's
Maybe
going to
FML?
say GM.
No.
Yeah,
Nobody
I mean,
FML.
G Fuel.
Oh, like literally one piece of jargon. I mean, okay, so like if we just want to go down to a
I
single
mean, there's
word,
a lot. There's a big dictionary.
yeah, there's so
like that.
many. That's like kind of one of the problems with crypto, right?
Yeah, and also it's best in communications. It's best to avoid using jargon because not everybody understands, and then you're not inclusive at all. And then some people trust themselves. Not everybody knows how to Google or thinks about Googling because their brains are wired differently. So it's best if you avoid using jargon, to be honest.
WAGMI.
I think
Otherwise, yeah.
It's the only one that
Yeah.
matters.
I think liquidity. If I had to think of one that like is like a pedestrian user, like you think of like, oh, I'm gonna buy a token or not buy a token or whatever. I think really understanding
one.
liquidity, I think is like an important piece of jargon to like actually
Multisig.
learn. And I don't think you can say what multi-sig. Yeah.
Multisig.
Yeah. Oh my god.
We get it. We get it, Alex. You're a big fan of Gnosis.
No. This is when she said
Come on.
liquidity, I was like, where do you keep that liquidity? And like, oh shit, it's multisig.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I think we have people in crypto for 6-7 years and don't know what a multisig is. So
It's true. Yeah, they don't know how much of everything is secured by a disorganized group of people who never meet.
exactly. Okay, guys. Next question is proudest moment for your community.
Mainnet launch. After 3 years,
yeah.
we launched mainnet. So yeah, very excited for that.
I was there to see
Great.
it. I mean, online, not not at the field.
Online, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably as well the toughest moment, but
Mhm. I think when I had a community member contribute to like the actual like protocol code, that was like a really huge moment. I was just like, oh wow, you were just kind of hanging out in the Discord, and now like part of this thing that's going to launch like has your work in it, and you just found it through the ether.
that's community, the real one.
When a PR has been
yeah.
submitted by somebody, and then you recognize them. Hey, that's a guy from Discord. What's he doing on GitHub?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
realize, oh no, he's a contributor now.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I would go with that as well. I will.
Yeah.
I'm the same length with you part we had.
Yeah, if I can change or if I can have another one, I would say the first time someone built something with Sway, that was really cool.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Had a hackathon. I was very proud of the hackathon last year, which was the biggest request I had with 80 projects, and lots of those hackers were hackers I've met at other hackathons, and I pushed them into the Discord. Like I use everything I push on Discord to have one single point of proof. And those people throughout time became community members, and now the ambassador program that we were talking about, like I'm launching it with these people. So I emailed each and every one of them, told them what we're doing. If they're interested, apply.
Mhm.
So I'm really proud of continuing on with this hackathon strategy and going to basically to ground zero where the hackers are breaking your tech and giving you the best honest feedback possible. Like I used to work in gaming, in game development, and we did playtests at Ubisoft, where Far Cry, Assassin's Creed. So the best feedback we got at these playtests were from people that were from outside the studio, from the street. I swear to God, we got people from the street. Hey, you want to come and test the game? We'll pay you 50 euros, food and beer. And people came and they gave us honest opinion. Like they're saying, this gameplay loop is absolute shit. Nobody likes it, or this store sucks. Or like honest feedback that people, your colleagues even, they will not tell you this.
No bias.
Yeah.
No
Politically
bias.
correct,
Yeah, that's a good one. What about you, Mihnea? You ask a lot of questions, but you don't answer many.
Yeah.
I'm the host. I don't get that's my perk. I don't answer my own questions, right?
You can.
No, I think
though.
I think I'm gonna go with Park's version, because for me as well it was super important when we got actual developers in the community starting to build projects on Oasis and making cool use cases and collaborating amongst themselves. Like that was the moment that you felt proud that people understood what you're trying to build. They tried to help. So
now with vibe coding, we're going to see that more and more. I'm absolutely sure that we're going to see that in our communities more and more and more, because people have access to coding that they never had before. You don't have to go to school for 8 years or read massive books. You can just go and
There's
try
going
to
to
build
be
something.
there's going to be a whole new generation of rug pulls and mistakes. But
Oh yeah.
but I think that this is ultimately a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to be the
specifically
biggest
for that.
fight for attention ever.
Oh yeah.
that's how you get to the diamond, right?
This is it. Yeah.
Okay, what was the toughest moment? You can all say price plummeting, like that's fine.
I mean, I think getting it started is like the toughest moment, right? Like actually getting people in is so incredibly difficult. So actually one thing with Penumbra that's quite difficult is that like there really wasn't there was a community of people that was built up before launch, but not as much as like could have been done. This is for a variety of reasons. It was intentional. But most of it has to do with like, making sure the tech was out there, making sure that the protocol was like established. And I think the toughest moment right now is honestly what we're going through right now, which is like trying to establish a post token, like a post TGE community. That's super hard. But my impression and my hope is that it's going to be a much stickier community in the long run. We're taking a different approach. It's not quite, because I think that I wanted to see if we can avoid token hype, and kind of get to it through like a very like a proven relationship with the product. And I think that's right now it's pretty tough. I don't mean tough in a way that I'm like not excited about it, but more like the challenge is interesting and different.
Yeah, I joined Park on this, like on both sides. Like the first months is when I joined Fuel were really hard. Like not just because like I didn't understand what was the project in the very beginning, because we didn't have a website or anything, but like as well when we started to have these things, we were at first the only ones excited about it. So getting the first 5 to 10 people very excited about what you're building is the toughest moment in the history of a project. And then in a crypto project, the hardest moment is definitely post TGE, like when you have to to keep your community alive, and even starting a new one from scratch, kind of, because all the mercenaries are gone. So now you're going to look only for real users and real people that believe in what you're doing. So that's another very big one, because it's like a funnel, like you went from having everyone to having not as many people, and you want to go on the other side of the funnel, the reversed one. You want to go from this very strong small core of hardcore people that believe in you to extending it to like a broader community that can use your product on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I think for me, at least, the toughest moment is related to what Park said, and trying for quite a while, because this is not an easy thing to do or a fast thing to do, to turn community of token holder, community builders, or to get them to contribute, to actively contribute, not just by words.
Yeah.
So it takes time, and sometimes you can look at what you do, you have no engagement, you don't have any likes, that you don't have nobody replying to your threads, and it's the doubt. I would say it's a doubt that begins to instill in your heart and your mind and everything. And I imagine it's much worse when it's a post EG community, and then people, like I've seen it happen to people, their mental health takes a big decline because you've got all this hype building up. PG happens, and then the enthusiasm just slowly goes away, and you notice that. You notice the
FUD starts flowing. That's really the problem. It's like then people are like, well, but this is the reason the thing is going down. Yeah, it's that's really awful.
Yeah, because everybody knows what's happening in the background. So
yeah, right.
yeah, it's a tough place to be. That's granted.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Ruben, you're going to hold me accountable to this because I'm not going to answer, so I'm going to give an answer as well. I think for us was the moment. So in the past, we used to do a lot of the airdrop hype wasn't there yet. So we used to do giveaways and all sorts of contests and whatever. And of course, community channels started to build up, right? And when we stopped doing that, we realized that the actual usage was very, very low, and that was very disappointing.
Yeah.
But
you have in crypto is like you feel like you always have to pay more people than they will actually make you benefiting from your product.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, last question of the lightning round. What's the future of Web3 community building in one word?
Gamification, or reputation.
Reputation. That's
a combination of both.
Yeah.
Gamification.
Refication.
Refication.
Is that a startup? Are we gonna?
I think my one word is product.
I was sure you were going to say that.
Am I so transparent?
EMF.
Yeah. EMF. PMF. That's 3 words, to be very clear. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think product.
It's a good one.
Alex is thinking. I can see the loading sign above his head.
Ambassador programs.
Composable. Is that a good word?
I really like that one. I like that word. Yeah. Because
I was actually Googling to find a good word. Sorry,
it's all AI. It's all AI.
Is it good?
Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, honestly, because if like I said earlier, like understanding that your users, understanding that your community is in multiple places. This is the same thing. Just to I don't want to expand and create a whole thought object here, but I do think about how it's very normal now to communicate with your friends across multiple different apps,
Right.
We don't I don't only communicate with this person on WhatsApp. I also know them on maybe Instagram. I also know them on Twitter, whatever, on Telegram.
I still use Facebook Messenger with some friends. I swear to God, I still use Facebook Messenger with some friends.
Yeah, I believe you. And I think maybe the same we'll see in crypto. Yeah.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Those were all great answers. Okay, I think we can kind of wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining. I think this was a great episode. I, for one, had a lot of fun. Maybe we can do this again in even bigger numbers. I mean,
I wanna participate in the scam one. Let me know when you do the
scam one.
Yeah.
Do you actually want to do an episode focused on scam?
It would be interesting. I mean, honestly, it would. There's a report that Figment is coming out with soon. like the Figment Capital is coming out soon. That's specifically about TGEs and like the potential and environment around scams. So I know that's coming out in the next like week or so, and there'll be a lot to talk about after that, I think. So I'll forward it to you all, and maybe we can forward it beyond to the whole privacy community.
We do have a lot of great members in that channel, so maybe we can do
that's awesome.
with even more. With even more.
Add more people to it.
Yeah.
Make it alive. Create the culture.
Create the culture. CCOs for life.
I like that.
CCOs for life. Again, thank you guys. But that's a wrap on today's episode of Privacy Now. So huge thanks to our guests, Park, Ruben, Alex, and Kate, even though she had to leave early. Thank you so for sharing your insights on what it takes to build and sustain a Web3 community. Again, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to check out our past episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Basically, we're covering everything from privacy-preserving tech to the future of AI and Web3 and a lot of other cool things, such as today's episode on community. And of course, if you found this valuable, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your friends. It would really help us out. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Take care.